something that it is a lifetime employment, but that is actually a myth. As Perry Zerpel, professor of education and law at Leys University, stated, tenure is no more than a legal commitment set by the state and negotiated union contracts to procedural due process, ensuring notice and providing a hearing for generally accepted reasons for termination, such as incompetency, insubordination, and immorality. Though it is harder for teachers to be fired due to the tenure, it mostly just gives them more time and a better look at the situation instead of just releasing them because it would cost too much. Another thing is that there are in fact policies within the tenure to ensure an effective performance in teachers. Recently, both Colorado and Nevada passed laws saying tenure can be taken away after multiple ineffective ratings. This helps make it possible for teachers with tenure to be fired if not doing a satisfactory job. This new law motivates them to be consistently good and adequate in their teaching, because they know that if they get more than a few of the unsatisfactory ratings, that they can in fact lose their jobs. Also, obtaining the tenure is becoming more difficult in order to ensure the credibility of the teacher due to the new law. In New Hampshire, Governor John Lynch allowed Senate Bill 196 to become law, which makes teachers work 5 years instead of 2 before tenure is given, allowing more time for a teacher to be assessed. William O'Brien of New Hampshire House Speaker said that the law's intent is to remove substandard teachers from the classroom and give school administrators more time to assess the performance of an educator. Therefore, the longer time they have, it'll give them a better idea of whether or not that they actually are deserving of the tenure or not. Another quote by William O'Brien of New Hampshire. He said, nowadays, it's harder for teachers to find jobs. They're in an increasingly competitive field to be hired. Therefore, they must already be very well qualified in order to gain a position, since it would cost too much for them to be released after gaining tenure. Being granted the tenure is a more difficult process now and more selective, since there are other well-qualified applicants out there. Also, it is not true that tenured teachers lose their jobs less than non-tenured teachers. It's actually the opposite. In a study found by the National Center for Education Statistics, found that the standardized percentage of teachers in the U.S. who lost their jobs due to poor performance via the non-renewal of non-tenured teachers was 0.7%, was half of that for the termination of tenured teachers, which was 1.9%. This shows that it is very possible for teachers with a tenure to be fired. Also, the tenure doesn't necessarily mean a costly and complicated process for terminating poorly performing teachers. The extent of the procedural process that is due depends initially on the will of the public at the state legislative and local contractual level, and may be no more than a reasonable written notice of the charges and a 1 or 2 night board hearing with prompt impartial review. Thank you.